Welcome to another episode of Conscious Business Connections, brought to you by the New York City chapter of Conscious Capitalism. My name is Bob Caporale, and I'm joined today by Nadine Cino of TygaBox. Nadine, welcome to the show.
Hello, Bob. Thanks so much for having me. I
Oh,
truly am excited to share with you what inspired us and what keeps us ticking.
oh, great. We're excited to hear it. So it's absolutely awesome. We're going to have a great conversation. So, Nadine, as you know, conscious capitalism is a philosophy and an association that really thinks that capitalism can be a great thing if businesses practice it in a conscious way. And there are four areas that the philosophy focuses on. Essentially, higher purpose is one of them, and conscious leadership, conscious culture, conscious stakeholders. And what we're trying to do on this show is really highlight companies in the greater New York City area that are practicing some of these things so that other people can learn from them and then hopefully get inspired by them. So we're talking to you because you are practicing something in this area and we want to hear more about it. So this is really great. So let's go ahead and start off by just tell us a little bit about the company. So TygaBox in New York City, right? Tell us a little bit about TygaBox and what it is and what it does.
Okay. Well, some people who are listening to this show might have been around in 1991. And that is the year Tyga-Box was born. So it was a little ahead of the curve.
Mhm.
And the reason Tyga-Box was started is because formerly I was a fashion design consultant. I had a hugely successful career globetrotting all around the world, consulting with companies like Reebok and Puma, Lady Foot Locker, and so forth. You couldn't pick anybody who was less prepared than me to start a brick and mortar inventory based business, a consultant just flying all over the world selling ideas.
Right.
However,
The toughest type of
one
business to
day
start,
we
by the
had to
way.
move our design studio and home. It was like a live work studio, right? We had to move from point A to point B. Not unusual. And I shopped around for the low price mover. Aha, not
Hmm.
unusual either, except
Not
I got
unusual.
everything I deserved when I hired that low price mover because they ripped us off for thousands of dollars of cardboard boxes that in 1991, with no municipal recycling in place in New York City, I had no alternative but to incinerate them.
Mm.
And I can tell you today in 2020, as much as it hit me in 1991, the visceral reaction is exactly the same. I was outraged at the colossal waste of planetary resources, just the precious life of a tree being sacrificed to move my precious little designer pencils from Italy 6 blocks and
Yeah.
then incinerating this tree.
Stuff that
It
you
was,
didn't probably need to begin with, right?
I'm telling you, it was so not only am I half Italian, I'm also half Cuban. So as a Latina, I'm very well practiced at going into a rant in less than it takes a Ferrari to get to 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. Now
And
I'm
so I'm at
100% Italian, so I will join you if you go there, but let's not do that.
okay, let's not. So at the incinerator, I am ranting about how somebody ought to create a business where you could rent a reusable plastic box to replace cardboard. That was it. That was the
Yeah.
big vision. And so after many tries and lots of, I guess you could say, early success and early failures, we ended up with TygaBox, and here it is.
Oh.
And so what TygaBox is, it's actually a system that changes the process of moving and packing. Because you see, we invented a two-part system, a box
Mm-hmm.
and a dolly. This
Mm.
dolly you may see is bottomless. And so we intentionally designed it so that it could hold nothing but a TygaBox.
Oh,
And that would prevent it from being stolen off job sites when we delivered it to corporations.
very interesting.
Because we were outliers. Again, I was a fashion design consultant. What am I doing in the moving and storage industry, right?
Yeah, right.
But while we were there observing, kind of creating that early product market fit, we asked the movers, why don't you just bring your dolly to the job site from the get-go so people could pack directly to the dolly and they'd never lift a box unless it was empty.
Mm.
So 1991, I'm a small 5'3" female in the moving industry in New York. Okay, you can imagine what they looked like. What is this crazy lady doing here?
Right.
Okay,
Trying to
and
get
that
rid of
was
all our
nice.
boxes.
Those were the kind words they used to describe me.
Right, right.
Okay. And so the idea is that what we saw, because we were outliers, and this is my partner Marty Spindell and I, uh, we noticed that there was a lot of operational waste, procedural waste in packing boxes for corporate relocations.
Mhm.
A cardboard box, you pack it, and then all of a sudden it's in the way. So you got to lift up
Yeah.
this heavy box and get it out of the way and pack it somewhere else.
Yep.
And then it's in the way again. And
Yeah.
so what we got verified, and this is really why we succeeded with Tyga-Box. What was verified by movers and facilities managers alike is that somebody on average is lifting a filled heavy box 4 times before it is placed on the dolly at origin. That's an
Interesting.
astounding fact.
Yeah.
And again, it's anecdotally proven, but you know what? Everybody agreed with us.
Well, it
So
kind of makes sense, right? Because as you're packing it and stuff, you're moving it around, and I would imagine, and
right.
you're moving it from one place, stacking it, then removing it. That makes sense to me. I don't think I've ever moved a box just once, right, from one place to another. So that's makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And so, because our insight was if you could put the box on a dolly first and you could pack directly to the dolly, then not only would no one ever lift a box unless it's empty, nice benefit for the user,
Yep.
but because the box was empty, you could stack higher than the standard cardboard box height of 3 high because the box was empty. So you could build the stack as you pack.
Yeah.
And because you could do that, we were able to increase the efficiency of a footprint. So the bottom of the dolly is basically called a footprint because that's how much space it takes in an elevator or in a truck or
Yep.
anywhere else, right?
Yep.
So because with Tyga-Box you can stack 5 high and cardboard only 3, well, you've already done the math. You get 40% more contents per every stack, elevator load, truckload, and use less labor with a
Yeah.
Tyga-Box move.
So it's efficient. And obviously it's saving the planet to some extent, right? Because now I
Correct.
have to ask you about the Tyga-Box themselves, because now was this or is this a rental model that they rent the boxes from you and then you can kind of reuse them from client to client,
That was the
or
whole
something else?
idea,
That was the idea, so that they really
right?
don't have to pay for the box and you don't have to throw the box away, essentially.
Correct. In fact, so that whole rant about somebody ought to have a business where you could rent reusable plastic boxes, reuse is our atomic principle.
Yeah.
And we did build our boxes to last. And so we still have our original production from 1996,
Wow.
servicing customers all across America for the ones that are moving,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is a
right.
whole lot less than 6 months ago.
Yeah,
But
right.
for those that are moving, our boxes are still servicing their needs every single day.
That is
25
so
years and
cool.
counting.
So cool. Now I have to ask too, because I'm throwing this on you, but I went and looked at some of your videos and so forth. And there was a really interesting one from maybe about 5 years ago or so, where you were talking about, I mean, even plastic boxes will have end of life, right? And I think you were talking about having some partnership with a botanical garden or something like that, where they can actually even take a box that you would consider to be end of life and even use it again for planters or things like that. Is that something that panned out, or is like something you
Yes, yes.
actively
So
try
we
and do?
do have a partnership with the Queen's Botanical Garden.
Yeah, that's so
Yes,
cool.
and that's the whole idea. Is like silver tape
Yep.
can just wrap around the top edge of a Tyga box in case there's any cracks or anything like that, and it can be used for collecting organic waste from the community.
Yep.
It can be used as a composting box. It can be turned upside down in the wintertime and protect plants.
Unbelievable. It's so cool.
There's a million things you can use
It's
it for.
just so incredibly cool. Now, I have to ask you too, because it seems like corporations, this would be just a no-brainer to me, right? But
Yes.
can it be used for residential moves too? Is it affordable enough for that, or is mostly the market businesses?
It's affordable. The thing is that with corporate moves, we're delivering large quantities of equipment to a single location.
Yep.
And so the cost of delivery and pickup in New York City is, astronomical,
Or
right?
absolutely. Yep.
So when you start delivering, instead of 500 or 2,000, you're delivering 50 or 60 for a residential customer. It changes the equation, and the delivery becomes much more of a deterrent,
Yeah. Got it.
unfortunately. Now, we make it possible for anybody who wants to pick up boxes for a residential move. We do have a warehouse in Long Island City, and they're free to come and pick up and eliminate all charges for delivery and pickup.
Incredible. Yeah. So
So
so that's something that can be done. Now, do you
yeah.
also have a model where you can sell the boxes? Because I have like, a storage area that's filled with, well, it's my basement, but it's filled with plastic boxes and containers of all different shapes and sizes. Like, I would love to have ones that are all the same shape and all stacked the same way. Like, I could see a model where I use your stuff to move and then I use it as storage. Is that something that's possible as well?
Yes, it is. And so we've actually, in fact, there's a woman that I know who's moving to Canada, so she's not going to be returning them.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I want to have the stuff that's really important to me safely above any flood that I might get in my basement, because the dolly suspends the box. We know that the box is completely waterproof. So she said, let me just buy, a set of 5 and a dolly, and I'm a happy camper.
You
So
go that
she'll,
way. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
So we
so
do.
cool. So cool. Well, okay. So I mean, I have so many. I have to tell you, I used to have another podcast that was on my own, pretty much, but that was talking about like startup businesses and how you got it started, and how, because I'm so fascinated with all that. Like, how do you go from what you were doing in the fashion industry to now you're making actual tangible product? It's got to be so. But I know on this show we can't really focus on that because it would take too much time. But I want to get to another thing that you're doing now, because I know Tyga-Box, which has been around quite some time, is fantastic, and really this is really talks in conscious capitalism terms, higher purpose, right? This is a business
Right.
that has a
Reuse.
higher purpose, reuse, really doing great things for the planet, and you're still able to make money while you're doing that, which is, I think, fantastic, right?
Well,
But
and
you have,
also our customers save money. So, Bob, going
yeah,
back to an earlier conversation we had, it's my belief that efficiency compels markets.
yeah,
And because Tyga-Box was simply more efficient, on average, our corporate customers saved 30% of the cost of the move when they used Tyga-Box compared to cardboard. So
amazing,
now, as a facilities manager, and you're looking at a $210 move budget, and it comes in at $140,000,
yeah,
and you've just saved $60,000. Those facilities managers really didn't care about the environment, but what they
right,
did care about was their budget.
yeah.
And so we were able to succeed in the market and convert the market on the basis of that we provided an efficiency that was so compelling, they just couldn't say no.
Which is
And
not, by the way, the norm for, I wouldn't say, I don't know, maybe this isn't statistically accurate, but you don't hear that often with sustainable types of choices. Usually there's a higher cost associated with things that are saving the earth, and you have to kind of appeal to people's sense of wanting to do the right thing. But when you
right,
could actually save the planet and save money,
right,
right? There's, I mean, to me, that's just incredible.
yeah.
So really great concept. Well, let's go ahead and move into another area though, because I know that you're never sitting still, right? And I know Tyga-Box has been around a while; it's doing great. But you have another product too that you're trying to see if you can do some good with. So talk about Sanicheck, right? And obviously I've
Yes.
gotten a preview to this, but talk to us a little bit about that and what that is.
Okay. So Sanicheck. So one of the things that we're always focused on, our atomic principle, is reuse.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be only reusing the same item over and over again. It could be reusing a space over and over again. That's really the heartbeat of all our public spaces, right?
Yeah.
And so we're here, like everyone else, under quarantine and looking at what could we do with the universe we've created. We've got these boxes, and in the interim we created some RFID asset management and tracking technologies, and we have electronic RFID tags and readers, and we're able to actually keep track of any item anywhere in the world so that you can find what you need when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our corporate asset management program. And we're looking at these tags and gateways, and we're saying, you know, right now nobody really cares that much about where their IT equipment is, or where their sofa might be, or how many uses they're getting out of it. They don't really care. And I don't,
especially now, it hasn't moved in the last 4 months, right?
exactly, right? And I wouldn't care either if I were them. So I mean, it's always easy for me to put myself in their place.
Yeah.
I said, but you know what could we do with our technology? How could we pivot it? What could we do to it that would have it serve the greater purpose of protecting public health and safety? This is probably the number one thought that's on everyone's minds. As anxious as we all are to reopen, there are concerns about how do we do that in a manner that's safe? How do we do that in a manner that's not only safe for the employees, but it's equally safe for the employers? What could we create in terms of documented best efforts that are in compliance with OSHA and CDC guidelines for COVID sanitization or cleaning practices or whatever? How can we tie these pieces of guidelines from government, employees' concerns about their health and safety, and an employer's concern about liability?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to link those together? So when we looked at our tracking technology, we thought, if we could add another dimension of data, if we could know if an item or a room was sanitized before someone uses it, would that not help reduce the concerns, reduce the liability, obviously reduce the spread, right? The first thing is, can we reduce the spread? So after doing much research with CDC guidelines and also research within the medical community, we found a fairly consistent assessment. The obvious, first and foremost, way of spreading corona is through airborne germs. Mm-hmm. The second way, though, is through contaminated surfaces. And we looked at, well, how do surfaces get contaminated? So a simplistic way of looking at it is, I'm a carrier of the virus. I may not even know it, right? I touch something, I deposit some germs on it because I just coughed in my hand or whatever, I sneezed in my hand from a normal sneeze, right? Mm-hmm. We just touch something and then somebody else comes along and touches it and whatever. It can be spread that way. That seems to be the way I thought until I did the research. But what actually happens is I cough, I touch my hand on a surface, and when I walk away, the mechanical motion of my walking creates air currents that then carry the virus and make it somewhat airborne.
So like stirring up dust or whatever, right? It's just stirring up the particles. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense.
So it's in the airborne mechanical physical activities, and then in the built environment, you have HVAC and all kinds of air handlers. Also looking to circulate air. So it's not just the surface, it's the atmospheric environment acting on the surface that actually spreads the virus effectively.
Yeah, which makes, again, I'm not, don't know the science, but it certainly makes logical sense, right? That would happen. Right. That's how, just intuitively, right?
Exactly. And so that's
so there's definitely an issue there, right? Before, and so tell us what does SaniCheck do to that? So there's some mechanism to check to see if the environment has been cleaned? Is it like more if someone's cleaned it, you manually go in and tell the system it's been cleaned, or does it check it automatically? How does that work?
Automatically. Humans we're all too preoccupied with other things. Nobody's going to bother figuring out, oh, do I have to manually enter to see if this room is sanitized?
Yeah, right,
Nobody's
right.
going to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So and we wanted the technology because TygaTrax is all automated. We wanted to leverage the automated, kind of like get the human out of the picture to the most highest extent possible. And so basically,
TygaTrax being the RFID technology you're using on your Tyga boxes. And so
that's
this is
correct.
what
So
you're kind of translated to here. Yep. Got
right.
it.
So we took that asset management technology, and why we were able to monitor reuse with the TygaTrax tag is because it had a little accelerometer in it that could actually detect motion.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Now, so reuse, motion. Every time there's motion on it, I've reused it one more time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Gotten
Right.
it that much
Yep.
closer to its full life cycle.
Yep. Got
Right?
it. Yep.
Okay. So now the motion is the key. We're going to take that same tag and just put it on a door to a conference room, a door to a bathroom stall, right? Now, when the conference room has been sanitized, the door always gets closed behind. The cleaner will close the door.
Right, right.
Once that door is closed, and this is the only part that's manual, the cleaner marks that that conference room has been sanitized or whatever their cleaning procedure
Right.
is. Right.
It's sealed.
And so then, right, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now the door has a little tag on it, and it has a little LED signal on it.
Yeah.
That just flips from green to red.
Okay.
So now that you have this tag on a door, and it's got a little light that flips from green to red, if you're going into a conference room, you're going to want to see the green light. Not going to want to see a red light.
Right.
You see a red light, it's a little bit like traffic lights, right?
Yeah.
Green go, red stop.
Yeah. So you go into a conference room, you see that it's been sanitized. Once they open that door then and use it, then it will go red again until someone comes and resets it because they've sanitized it again.
Well, exactly. Somebody has to come and clean it before it can be reset. Right.
Interesting. Really interesting. So it's like the protective seal on a new electronic device or something, right? In a way, it's like once you break the seal, then you know you've broken the seal.
Correct.
You may still choose to go in there if you want, whatever. It's not stopping you, but you just at least know. Really, really interesting. What I really think is intriguing about it, and coronavirus being what it is, right? And there's a lot of science around it. There's a lot of controversy around it. There's a lot of people, without getting into any of that. One thing that I've been finding with coronavirus and all the stuff we've been going through is there are some things that were just fundamentally broken, that whether or not you believe all the science behind, what's going on today, there are just things that needed to change, right? And I think one of those things happens to be the lack of cleanliness. Like I go into restaurants, I see them sanitizing and cleaning tables and doing all these great things. And I'm like, you know what, that's great right now, but why weren't we doing that before? Like it doesn't, why, I don't understand why that's something that's just been brought on now. Like I think that's a great thing. Why do I have to go to a restaurant and stick to the table? I don't think that was ever something I should have to have done. Right. So this is kind of a cool thing, even if we get over, there's a vaccine, whatever else happens. This is something that's kind of neat, right? Like I think businesses should be doing this kind of thing in sanitizing rooms anyway, right? This is a good practice.
The best you hit it on the head. It's a best practice. And because you see, what happened is we kind of got caught with our guard down, right? It's an invisible, germs are invisible.
Yeah.
And they'll probably always be invisible, unless we evolve to something else. But since they're going to be invisible, so Corona is today's version of a pandemic.
Right.
What's tomorrow going to bring?
What's tomorrow? That's right. Exactly.
Who knows? Maybe it mutates in a way that it's no longer, pernicious, or maybe it mutates into something even more pernicious and no vaccine takes care. we don't know, but
Or
it's
maybe we just want to be
invisible.
clean, right? Like that's okay. That's
Yeah,
cool
right?
too, you know? So I love it. I think it's really great. Well, as you know, we only have a limited time and so
Okay.
much to unpack and talk about. But I want to just kind of summarize this and say that, you know, where this comes back to conscious capitalism, why this is so cool is that here you're a for-profit company with a couple of great products with a higher purpose of reuse, right? And you found a way clearly to do that in the moving space. Now you're kind of taking that same philosophy and trying to move it into, you know, the office space and so forth with sanitation, or sanitization, I should say. And I just think it's so cool that you know you have that kind of a thought process. And it's just a perfect example of a company that can be built on a higher purpose and really trying to make a difference in the world, which is really what conscious capitalism is all about. So really, really just great examples. Nadine, I don't want to leave or let you leave without you telling people where they can find out more about TygaBox, Sanicheck, or both. So tell us where we can go.
Okay. So we have very simple websites. Uh, to find out more information about TygaBox, it's just TYGABOX.com.
Got it.
And to find out more about Sanicheck, which is pretty rudimentary, we're still in MVP mode, you know, minimally viable product.
Yep. Yep.
However, we do have a website, Sanicheck, SANICHEK.com. No,
Got it.
so
Perfect.
that's it. CHEK. There's no C in there.
Yep, and we're gonna put links in the description here on the
Oh,
YouTube
that's
channel. So,
perfect.
yep,
Right.
so people will be able to go there, check it out, see what they're doing, see what you're doing, and maybe get in touch and if they want to learn more. So I think that's absolutely fantastic.
That's great. So,
Well,
Bob,
Nate,
if I could have one more moment, it's
of
really
course, you
interesting
bet, you
to
bet.
just thread reuse, right? Our atomic principle. We started out with reusable boxes, and here we are helping organizations in any built environment, even airports, right? We're helping organizations that operate in the built environment reuse all of the public spaces that had already been determined to be public access,
Yeah,
conference rooms, bathrooms, pantries, whatever. We're helping them reuse their assets safely. And I just find it amazing that that one simple atomic principle has really been our North Star for
yeah, that's what I
30 years.
it's so cool too, because when people think about higher purpose, it could be so detailed or it could be really broad. And in your case, that's what you've done. You say reuse, right? That's it. And there's a lot of different ways to apply that. And honestly, I think this is going to be more and more important, right? It's not just office spaces.
Of course.
I'm watching the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, and they're playing to empty arenas, right? Like, when are people going to feel comfortable coming back into space as well? When people pay more attention to things like this. So I think it's really, really great. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I think it's been a great conversation, really awesome. I also want to make sure that I don't leave the audience without thanking the sponsors of the New York City chapter. So the Tomiak Foundation and the Core Club. Without their generosity, programs like this wouldn't be possible. So we thank them. And of course, we also thank you, members of our community. If you want to learn more about conscious capitalism, the New York City chapter, please visit us at consciouscapitalism.nyc. You can find out all about our chapter, the events that we do, which are mostly online right now, but really great stuff. You can sponsor us if you'd like, or just get in touch and let us know what you think. And of course, if anyone's interested in being a guest on this program, get in touch with us there as well. So with all that said, thank you again for joining us, and we will see you back here on another episode of Conscious Business Connections. Thanks again.